Hi, this is Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I went out to dinner with some friends from the other clinic that I work in. And while we were there getting along just fine, we went around the table trying to get to know each other a little better and sharing some of the things that we're interested in. And so as we were going around the table, I just happened to mention that one of the things I'm interested in is digital pinball. And I've got a digital pinball table. It's a little bit of a DIY project. And I shared that, and they were all kind of looking at me, it didn't generate any dialogue at all. And my wife just burst out laughing. And because my wife laughed at me, then the others around the table also began to laugh as well, thinking that it was so kind of bizarre that any grown man or any person in the world at all would like not just pinball, but digital pinball. And I get it. We all have different interests. And digital pinball, may not be for everybody, but it's something that brings me joy. And it's really easy for me in between clients to go and play one round of digital pinball just to clear my head and get grounded again to get back into another session. It's my thing. I know it's not for everyone. What about you? What's one thing that you love to do, but maybe it's a little quirky, and you think that others may feel that it's kind of weird, and they may go around the table and laugh at you like they laughed at me? If you've got your own thing that you love, but others think it's kind of odd, why don't you be brave and pause the video and share what that is with whoever it is you're watching with? This video is based on my interpretation of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10 and verse 17. In these two verses, we learn something about the preferences we have that make up our diversity and what we do with all of that diversity when we come together into groups, into a community. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10 and 17. I appeal to you, dear brothers and sisters, by the authority of our Lord Jesus Christ, to live in harmony with each other. Let there be no divisions in the church. Rather, be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. Verse 17, for Christ didn't send me to baptize, but to preach the good news, and not with clever speech, for fear that the cross of Christ would lose its power.
Hello, would you like anything else with your croissant?
Yes, coffee, please.
Coming right up. Oh, careful, the coffee's hot.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Have you watched the For Community video yet? Don't forget to watch this week's episode of Connect HQ.
Okay.
Here's the point I'm going to try to make in this video. Every community needs limitations to protect freedom. I see two really big things jumping out in these two verses to me. First, the perception of something horrible, as though we're being forced to be robots. And then second, something about purpose. If you're a Jesus follower, then you've been brought into a community that has a boss, and that boss's name is Jesus. And with that boss, the community that we're a part of, it comes with ideas around freedoms and limitations. So let's just break this up with the 2 points that I see. Diversity is essential. The text says, let there be no divisions in the church. Rather, be of one mind. Way long time ago, too long ago, when I was a teenager, one of my friends brought me out to a youth group because they were doing this youth event, and I had no idea what the youth event was until I got there. Apparently, the youth group was learning how to line dance. And I grew up in Scarborough in the GTA, and man, line dancing was not on my to-do list, and country music was not something that I really meshed with. We got into this line, and we all had to do the exact same thing as though we were robots. And it was so obvious that I'm a bad dancer with bad timing, and I couldn't do this because I couldn't emulate what everybody else was doing. It really didn't stick with me. Now, I haven't tried it since I was a teenager. I have no idea if I would like it or not as an adult, but I know back then it absolutely wasn't my thing. When I look at this text, that old memory of line dancing, having to emulate the exact same performance that everybody else was doing, it jumped into my head because of how uniform everything seems to have to be if we look at this text and just take it like plainly with the words. I mean, the very first thing that jumps out to me in the text is the impossibility of it. No group of people can be of one mind and completely unified in everything there is to be unified about. It's not possible. The very idea of this verse, if we don't take it in context, sounds totally offensive because it's in opposition of diversity and creativity. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a part of a group of people that can't think for themselves and are kind of like robots, all saying the same thing and not being allowed to say anything different. That's a nightmare to me. And thankfully, that is totally not what this verse is about. Before we talk about what this verse is actually about, can I just pause and say that it's okay for you to be you? In all the passages around unity in the Bible, none of those passages ever deny you from excelling in the strengths that God has given you. You've got personality that God crafted into your DNA. We're all a little different, and that is okay. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 16 is one of my favorite verses. I got a lot of favorite verses. This is one of my favorite verses. It tells us that the whole body, the entire nation of God on earth, grows as each member does its work. And it's the word work from Ephesians 4:16 that I really love because it's something that only you can do and no one else can do. You are uniquely created to give your own contribution and not to sacrifice your identity to fit into a group. So it's okay to be you. However, there's more to say here. There's much more to say. Seeing this verse as a limitation on diversity denies how complex this issue actually is. Now, here's the deal. Freedom without limitations isn't freedom at all. It's chaos. There is no freedom if there are no limitations, because if you exercise your freedom in a way that hurts somebody else, that person is a slave. And the cost of your freedom is someone else's oppression. There is no freedom without limitations. See, it's complex. So this text presents us with a healthy limitation on our freedom. We are free to embrace the diversity of all that we are and everybody else is in our groups, as long as we're also united around something. In the case of this verse, that single-minded cause to be united around is called the cross of Christ, or the good news, the gospel. So here's my second point that's jumping out in the text to me. Limitation is essential. The text says, preach the good news. Diversity is awesome, but diversity is not identity. When everyone's identity comes together, if there are no limitations, it becomes a fight for power and control, like the very first or second year of people who are married to each other. Let me share with you the idea of the year of hell as it comes up in marriage. When I'm prepping couples for getting married, I always tell them about the year of hell. It's not really hell. Okay, I say it like this so it sticks in their memory, gives them something to latch on to. Because here's what's happening. The honeymoon phase is going to last for a little while, maybe up to around 8 months. And then sometime around that 8-month mark, give or take a little bit, the couple suddenly realizes that the other person has their own stuff going on. And those quirks, which used to be so cute, are now really annoying. And all that stuff they were doing to step up and make the other person's life so great, they get tired and they can't hold on to that kind of discipline anymore, and it kind of fades. And that space where that stuff is should be my space, not yours. And what's with the whole thing getting locked into housework? Who makes the call about how we spend money? It becomes a power struggle. Struggle of power, struggle of control. And it can be a fight. So I call it the year of hell. So it sticks in a couple's mind so they know it's normal. Now, most couples learn how to navigate this. Most couples learn how to get out of this. And what happens is the two people, with their identities intact, they develop one personality as a couple. Diversity isn't identity. Without limitations, it's a fight for power and control. This passage tells us what every Jesus follower needs to get united around. And I say needs to, as though there's an authority telling us what to do, because there is. The responsibility of knowing Jesus is to make him known. When Jesus followers come together, they limit their own personal preferences, and they all agree that the priority of the community that they're in will be Jesus' purpose, which is the cross, which is eternity, which is the gospel. So there is no freedom without limitations. A limitation that God gives to Jesus' followers is in the form of purpose. Whatever our other preferences are, we need to be united around God's purpose, which is to be known or to be made known so that he and his creatures can be in relationship, a relationship that will last forever. Okay, here's a summary. No one's telling you to give up your unique personality or your preferences. You go ahead and be you. However, when you come together with other Jesus followers or any community at all, whatever that looks like, we put a limit on our personal preferences and we choose to unite around something. And in the case of Jesus followers, we unite around God's purpose. And his purpose is to be known. His purpose is found in the cross and in the gospel. Our purpose and our unity. The limitation we're called to accept is to be united around the significance of the cross. Okay, that's it from me to you. For now, I hope you have a different interpretation because I really would love to hear your different interpretation. I hope it's different than mine. Would you please like? Would you please share? Would you please subscribe? And also, ask for the link. Remember, on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, that is mostly guys. It's all guys. So if you're a guy and you want to hang out, then ask for that link. We're also this week meeting in Beaton. So if you're local to where I am and new to Tecumseth, you might want to be meeting in Beaton with us. For community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. See you next time.